Kazerounian, the revelation of increased uranium enrichment suggests that Tehran views nuclear weapons really as a last card to ensure its survival. What about Iran's nuclear threat when it comes to U.S. policy do you view as most concerning? Sir, I think you're on mute.
Apologies. Greetings to you and greetings to my co-panelists and anyone else who is joining us today. Let me start by really offering my commendation to the team that just prepared the new policy paper. It was great. I fully agree with all the recommendations. And let me explain why in responding to your specific question. When thinking about the new Iran policy, we really need to take a look at the critical mistakes that the U.S. has made in past. Both the Democratic and Republican administration have failed to adopt a working policy on Iran. This failure is rooted in false narratives and bureaucratic inertia that we have seen out of various state departments, especially within this the Iranian table within the State Department, the Iranian desk. For decades, U.S. policy has been sharpened by myths about the Iranian regime. From early days of Khomeini to Khamenei's leadership now, these days, Washington has plunged to the belief that that there is a moderate group in Iran. Moderates exist within a regime that is fundamentally totalitarian. Europe has made the same mistake. U.S. efforts like Iran-Contra affair and dual containment policies failed, and this failure only emboldened the Tehran and Iranian regime during 1980s. Since 1990s, the myths like the regime is permanent and a nuclear Iran is inevitable have dominated the U.S. thinking. These ideas have led to appeasement, hostage diplomacy, unchecked Quds force and their expansion in the region, and also weak responses from U.S. and its allies. These policies showed weaknesses and invited more aggression. There is a major false choice has been shaped the United States policy, and that is war versus negotiations. Framing basically the debate has framed this way that the anti-regime movement in Iran does not exist, and they neglected that, they ignored that, and they exaggerated the power of IRGC and the Quds force in Iran. This approach showed its failure dramatically with the survival of Assad for many years in Syria. Goodwill gestures also backfired, including the blacklisting and the subsequent delisting of the Iranian opposition, MEK and NCRI, weakening sanctions based on the claim that they hurt the Iranian citizens more than the regime. Only this reduced the pressure on IRGC and in particular their smuggling operations in Iran and in the region and beyond. Every failure emboldened the Iranian regime. But this is really the time to learn from these mistakes. The Iranian people want this regime gone, totally gone. The question is how? Peaceful means are a non-starter in my belief. The regime's violent response to protests over the past 4 decades proved that. Here is what is needed for a successful regime change in Iran. A vision for a democratic Iran? Yes. Viable alternatives in place? Yes. Um, strategy and a roadmap for change? Yes. Foreign boots on ground needed? No. Capacity to govern in transition? Yes. International recognition? A qualified yes. U.S. government recognition, does it exist right now? No. And why not? Because of the failed policies and appeasements um, and Tehran's smear campaign against NCRI and MEK. What is the alternative? My colleagues here repeatedly mentioned that MEK and NCRI. And do they have the support of the Iranian people? Yes. NCRI is a unifying force. It has worked across political divide in the US and Europe, bringing together people from the left, center, and the right. It stands for human rights. It stands for, and it has a track record of resilience. So with that, I pause here and I thank you, and I thank my co-panelists.
Thank you, Doctor, very much. We are